Five, four, three, two, one.
I'm from a place where the girls are always looking pretty. You might have heard of us, we call it Shy City. We build champions here who define gritty. We don't do excuses, we don't do pity. Rose is coming back stronger, that's a guarantee. Cutler's coming back too, he's beastly. Throwing it to Marshall, the title's ours easily. Blackhawks are winning titles, trophy looking massive. Don't forget about the Cubs, Sox, Crosstown Classic. With so much greatness, we gotta show bravado. You got your boys Ambro and Mike Mercado.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of the Chicago Beat. I am Mike Mercado, always with my best friend, Secret Producer Man, in the beautiful ICB Lombard Studio. It is March 22nd, 2013, a cold Friday here in the city of Chicago. Don't forget, you can follow us everywhere in the universe. We're on Twitter, on Facebook, at The Chicago Beat. Of course, the beautiful DaChicagoBeat.yolasite.com for everything Chicago. So we're going to get off right away with the Chicago Bulls struggling again against the Portland Trail Blazers. I don't know how much more we could talk about when it comes to this team. They're struggling right now. They're not healthy. They're starting to get guys back. It looks like this team is in a mess. And that was just from the game against Portland last night. That we got so much to get into. But before that game, Derrick Rose talked to the media again and had some interesting stuff to say and brought God involved into it. And how now we're at the point of we're talking about God in the Derrick Rose story. It's been 48 hours since the big news, too. We haven't been on the air. We've been waiting a few days to really gather our thoughts, and we want to go at this the right way. About 48 hours ago, Bears and Urlacher was released from the Chicago Bears. It was a very interesting, very gloomy day to a lot of Bears fans. I think there's a lot of emotions that come into this story that we talk about Bears and Urlacher, and I'm very excited. I don't even know if excited is the right word to use. I'm just very eager to start talking about that later on the show. And, of course, the hottest ticket in town, the Blackhawks, struggle against the Anaheim Ducks. And what does that mean for the Blackhawks this season? We got all that and so much more coming up here on the Chicago Beat.
I know it's hard to remember the people we used to be. It's even harder to picture that you're not here next to me. You say it's too late to make it, but is it too late to try? And in that time that you wasted, all of our bridges burned down. I've wasted my nights, you turned out the lights. Now I'm paralyzed.
You're looking to ship out things fast and easy? Visit InFlightExpress.com, the quickest and fastest way to get a big bundle delivered fast and cheap. Unfortunately, the Bulls could not get anything delivered against the Portland Trail Blazers last night, losing 99-89. I guess some good news before the game was Taj Gibson and Kirk Hinrich were announced that they were going to come back and play for the Bulls. And it was a good thing. We saw Gibson come back, and about 25 minutes of play, he had 9 rebounds, 14 assists, 14 points. But that's nice. That's nice when you get Kirk Hinrich back, when you get Taj Gibson back. When you see the Bulls score 89 points, God knows that's a nice thing to see. But you're not going to win games when you can't stop Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge. When did Portland become a better team than Chicago? I mean, I'm looking right here. Damian Lillard, 24 points, 7 assists, 4 from 7 from the three-point line. LaMarcus Aldridge, 28 points, 8 rebounds. You're not beating that team. At least you're not beating that team without Derrick Rose. And Portland isn't even that good. They're 31-36 right now in the Western Conference. I mean, right now the Bulls are 36-32, or 31, excuse me. It's just not good right now for the Bulls. I don't know any other way that I could describe the emotion of what's going on with this Bulls team. And let me tell you what it all steams back to. When you hear things like this, it could be tomorrow, and I feel like I could play the next game. Nobody knows but God. Those are from the MVP, the captain, the face of the franchise, and Derrick Rose. Here we go. Here's some more. I really don't know right now, Rose said. I don't want to place no percentage on it, but I just know that I'm close and I'm taking every day serious and just becoming a professional. Again, soak that in a little bit. I'm not panicking or anything. If anything, I think I'm going to be a better player. I'm just taking my time. I'm just being patient, doing all the right things and really eating right and getting rest. What does that mean? I mean, it's the same garbage that we've been hearing for almost 12 months now. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. At what point do you just sit down and listen to your agents and your brother and everybody else and just don't play? I've been under the assumption that he was going to play all season. I thought he was going to be back on the 18th against Denver. Where is this leading to? How does this help a team? You can't tell me that this doesn't hurt the Bulls, because it does. It has to hurt the Bulls. How can it? Every day it's the same thing. When's Derrick coming back? How is Derrick looking? Nobody's talking about the minutes this team has been going through, the fact that they have overachieved all season. And right now, I think it was Waddle and Sylvie this morning on ESPN 1000, a local radio station here. Right now is the time of year where most basketball fans are excited about the playoffs and getting ready for their team to make a final playoff push. But that's not the case right now with the Bulls. It almost feels like it's a drag right now. Like, is it almost over finally? When is he coming back? This season really has become a wasted season. Rip Hamilton, garbage. Hasn't been around all season. Marcus Teague, a draft pick, you're thinking he's going to get some minutes. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's a player that you could see is going to take about 2 or 3 years to really learn the game, which is why the one and done is the stupidest rule. I don't even want to get into that. Luol Deng and Joakim Noah have been fighting injuries all season and still found the way to get to the All-Star game. You knew you weren't going to win this season. Bulls management almost knew they weren't going to win, and that meant almost nothing to them. It's a big picture perspective. Who knows? We saw last postseason, when Derrick got injured, that everything changed. Everything changed. Miami now had a clear path to the NBA final and still struggled against Indiana. So all this, we don't know if he could play. What difference does it make? If that's the case, then he doesn't play next season either. Why? Because it's going to be the same team. You're not going to make any moves until the 2014 offseason. So what's the point? I'm asking you, I asked you guys on Twitter at DaChicagoBeat. I asked you on Facebook. I asked you on the website. And it's always the same thing. There's no point for him to come back. There's no point for him to come back. Why? Players get paid to play. And no longer is it's his knee. No, when you say things like this and you're dragging out the story, you're the problem now. And nobody should feel bad for him. Should we pressure him to play? No. It's his knee. He's right when he says, it's my career. I'm only 24. I agree. I want to watch Derrick Rose for the next 10 years dominate the NBA. I have greedy intentions. I want to be I want to be the sports talk show in Chicago when Derrick Rose is winning NBA titles. That's my selfish part about it. But you have to make up your mind one way or the other. Are you going to play or aren't you going to play? And just end it. End it. Get it off everybody's minds, off everybody's burden. It's just, that is what it's become. The season's become a burden to fans and to the team alike. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. And it's not an easy segue to what we got to talk about next. Number 54 will no longer be patrolling Soldier Field after 13 seasons. We got the Urlacher story coming up next here on the Chicago Beat.
You know I like my chicken fried, cold beer on a Friday night, a pair of jeans that fit just right, and the radio up.
Looking for a career in broadcasting? Visit beatonair.com. That's the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. That is the school I graduated from. With 2 beautiful locations in Lombard and in Chicago, you get both the downtown experience and the suburban experience. You get 12 months of what it takes to be in the radio, television, broadcasting industry. Visit beonair.com to visit and set up a campus visit today. I'm going to lay out some numbers for you guys right now. You know, here on the Chicago Beat, numbers, we take them with a grain of salt. But I think these have some validity to them. First round draft pick. Rookie Defensive Player of the Year in 2000. AP NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2005. An NFC Champion in 2006. An 8-time Pro Bowl. 5-time All-Pro. 4-time First Team All-Pro. Those are the numbers and the stats of number 54, Brian Urlacher. The NFL, as great of a sport, as popular of a sport as it is in this country, has one, if not amongst many different black guys, one of the black guys that you see is a lot of players don't finish with their teams, at least nowadays. I'm going to give you a few names. Ed Reed, Texans. Former Baltimore Raven, great, Hall of Famer. Dwight Freeney, Hall of Fame type of player. All those years in Indianapolis, cut. Peyton Manning, all-time great quarterback, was cut from the Colts. A lot of it unlike Major League Baseball, you don't get contracts anymore in the NFL from what you've done before. It's what you're going to do now. And it's hard as it is to say as a lifelong Bears fan, as a lifelong Brian Urlacher fan, I think it was time. I think the best way I've heard it described is you'd rather be 1 year early than 1 year late. And I think that's what happened with the Bears. I think it was Dan Patrick who said it on his show. A lot of these teams don't want to be stuck with a middle linebacker who's 36 years old, who doesn't have his knees under him, who just can't cover the field, can't block, can't stop the run. You don't know what you want. It's a lot of money. To Brian's defense, he did say $2 million is a lot of money. But if you start reading the reports, $1 million of it was guaranteed through incentives and signing contracts. But the other $1 million was just a salary. So he was really only getting paid $1 million guaranteed. He wanted 2 years for $10 million. And he said, of course, that he would negotiate down. You don't want to give him your best offer. You want to start off really high and work through there. At just what point, though, do you say we have to cut our ties and good luck with your future endeavors? As bad as that sounds, especially to a legend like Brian Urlacher, as much as I would have loved for them to have come to an agreement on a 1 year, $3 million contract, make sure he retires here, make sure he's a bridge between the next big linebacker. Unfortunately, that's not how it works in the NFL. It's just not how it works. The Bears right now are very close to the salary cap. And it's a hard salary cap. You don't want to go over it. You're seeing a lot of teams, like when the Redskins and the Cowboys last year paid a lot of money because they were over the salary cap. It's just the belly of the beast in the NFL. It's not something that you want to see. It's something you don't hope you see with such a great player. But I guess here's what it comes down to for my final thought on Brian Urlacher. He was a great player for a long time in the city. He was my favorite player. He represented what the Bears organization should be. It's a defensive-minded team from guys like Dick Butkus to Mike Singletary. Brian Urlacher filled the shoes the proper way of a linebacker in a city full of defensive lovers. He lived up to everything. Unfortunately, it's time for the Bears to make a switch, to make a move, and the writing was on the walls. He knew that. Jerry Angelo, gone. Lovie Smith, gone. Of course, the next step is you got to start weeding out the older players. And eventually, guys like Charles Tillman will be gone. Julius Peppers will be gone. Lance Briggs will be gone. We've already seen Nick Roach and Brian Urlacher gone. DJ Moore is gone. It happens. It happens in this league. And over time, we're going to start seeing some of these guys leave and leave and leave, and it's going to suck. It just so happened that the first one to be gone was the most famous one, the most beloved one in Brian Urlacher. But either way, if Brian Urlacher decides I want to play and he plays for Green Bay or Minnesota, I'm not going to hate him because he wants to play, and that's what he does. He plays. Just like if I decided if I get a job offer in Detroit or New York or Los Angeles, I may love Chicago to death, but what I do is what I do, and that's the same thing with him. So either way, I think it's just we have to appreciate it, and I think we're going to now appreciate more what number 54 patrolling Soldiers Field really meant for us. The hottest ticket on town loses to the best team in hockey? Find out next year on the Chicago Beat.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
If you're looking for a fast and easy way to get your shipping needs done, visit InFlightExpress.com. With the best staff and equipment to move your things along, visit InFlightExpress.com. So on Wednesday, Armageddon hit the National Hockey League as the two best teams in the NHL met one-on-one between the Hawks and the Ducks. So really good, I would say a good game, sort of. It was very fast, physical. There's a lot of ways to describe it. I really wanted to get into this, though. Was the loss a good thing for the Hawks? See, because the score says 4-2, but they really lost 3-2. The last goal was on an empty net. Right now, I think that's exactly what this Blackhawks team needs, is a team that they can look at and say, this is who we got to get better than. This is a team that can beat us. Because the Blackhawks have not been able to figure out the Ducks yet. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but they haven't been able to figure out the Ducks. Ducks have beaten them in overtime and beaten them in regulation. The only team that's been able to do that. Let me run these numbers at you. Again, we're going back to the numbers here on the Chicago Beat. The Blackhawks, as of today, March 22nd, are 24-3-3 with 51 points. They're 7-3 in their last 10 while having a historic 24-point streak. But the Anaheim Ducks, as of today, are 22-3-4 with 48 points and 7-0-3 in their last 10. Blackhawks 51 points, Ducks 48. That means while the Blackhawks were on this crazy streak, the Ducks are right on their heels and are still on their heels and are still beating this Blackhawks team. So that shows that everything everybody has said about the NHL is true. As great as the regular season may be, it means nothing in the playoffs because anybody can beat anybody. And how crazy would it be if come playoff time, Stanley Cup playoff time, the number one seed in the Western Conference is not the Blackhawks, but it's the Ducks? After all this, the Blackhawks have saved hockey. The Blackhawks are the greatest team we've seen in the NHL. Nobody can beat them. The Ducks are beating them. The Ducks are beating them. And the Ducks aren't just some bad team that the Blackhawks are playing down to. The Ducks are the second best team in the NHL. Some might say the best team in the NHL. So what does this mean? This is what I'm trying to figure out. Again, I'm not a hockey expert. So I want you guys to tell me, is the fact that the Blackhawks can't figure out the Ducks a good thing? Could they actually end up being a second seed in the Western Conference Finals? Answer this question at The Chicago Beat or on Facebook, The Chicago Beat. We want to hear it from you guys. And on Monday's The Chicago Beat, we're going to talk about it. Now, as awesome as it is to talk about the Chicago Blackhawks and all the madness on the Madhouse on Madison, there's only one true March Madness going on. And that's the NCAA tournament coming up next year on The Chicago Beat. Frustration, secret producer man. Frustration is all I could say when it comes to this NCAA tournament bracket. I don't know how you guys are doing this year, but if you want to see how the Chicago Beat is doing, visit us at the Chicago Beat on Twitter or on Facebook /the Chicago Beat. And don't forget, we have the new and improved DaChicagoBeat.yolasite.com for everything sports, music, art, travel, and much more. And if you think your bracket's better than us, visit the website and compare it to ours. Now it's time for the best part, to whip out the brackets of Chicago-made punk Michael Mercado. So, just so you guys have a background, my Final Four consists of Michigan State, Wisconsin, Florida, and Indiana. Yeah, I know, 3 Big Ten schools and an SEC school. I actually have Michigan State beating Indiana 72-68 in the finals in Atlanta. But so far, I have been wrong on Wichita beating Pittsburgh. I'm so stupid. I was sitting on the computer thinking Wichita State was gonna win, and of course I picked Pittsburgh like an idiot. The one that's hurt me so far was Harvard beating New Mexico. I mean, these analysts upset me so much. This is why I never say I'm a genius or I'm an analyst or I'm just a man with a microphone and an opinion. People were telling me New Mexico should be in the Final Four. I had them in the Elite Eight, losing to Wisconsin. And now you have to scratch out and put Harvard. We're probably going to lose to Arizona. And you know what? It's funny. I have a lot of love for Arizona, but I just didn't think they were going to do much. I bought into the New Mexico hype. Let me see if I have any surprises. I have Wisconsin going to the Final Four, as I showed you guys. I have St. Louis in the Elite Eight, losing to Michigan State. VCU losing to Florida in the Elite Eight. Miami to Florida, losing to Indiana in the Elite Eight. Butler, I have them in the Sweet 16. North Carolina, I have them in the Sweet 16 over Kansas. Louisville losing to St. Louis. I really like St. Louis. I think St. Louis plays the right type of tournament ball that you're seeing. I think Gonzaga loses to Wisconsin. Again, you guys know how far I got Wisconsin going. So this time of year, you really can't say that you're nobody knows the NCAA tournament. Nobody could predict it. I mean, yeah, you have the freaks like Bill Plaschke on Around the Horn who are able to predict a very good bracket, a perfect bracket. But I don't pretend like I'm some NCAA bracketologist or anything like that. It's, to me, this is the best time of the year because everybody can join in. Everybody thinks they're a genius, and everybody's into these matchups, and you're able to put on 4 different channels to watch college basketball. It's just, that to me is one of the better times of sports. Is the first 4 days of March Madness is such great television, and you saw it with Marquette versus Davidson. It was a crazy game. Davidson gave it up against a number 3 Marquette. It was just such a good game, though. You were just in all of it. Or with Southern hanging on against the number 1 bad boy Gonzaga. This tournament is awesome. And there's a lot of people who don't like college basketball, and a lot of that has to do with where we live out here in Chicago. There's not a dominant Chicago college-based team. There's a lot of it that some of us haven't gone to a school that is involved in the NCAA tournament. But I think as sports fans, we can all appreciate just the I guess best word to say for it is just the passion, the drama, just the unadulterated sport of college basketball, that anything can happen. And that is all for the passion of the game and for your school. So hopefully, even though a lot of our brackets might get messed up, we all enjoy the ride that is March Madness to the Final Four. The Bulls play again against the Indianapolis Pacers Saturday, March 23rd at the United Center. And the Blackhawks Monday, March 25th against Stanley Cup champions Los Angeles Kings. For everybody here at the Chicago Beat, I am Mike Mercado. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at the Chicago Beat. We're on Facebook, the Chicago Beat, and of course, thechicagobeat.yolasite.com. For Secret Producer Man, I am Mike Mercado saying goodbye from ICB Lombard. We'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend, guys.